Join me while I guide this client through her very first Reiki session. And for anyone new to Reiki, it is a very intuitive practice and energy for both the practitioner and the client. Now, Reiki is all about tuning out of the logical mind and tuning in to the wisdom held within the body. So we're feeling into what's being stored within, noticing where there might be imbalance in the energetic system, and allowing that awareness to guide the healing process. Now, before we begin, I always like to explain what Reiki is. Reiki is very intelligent life force energy, and it flows throughout all living things and beings. It's what gives us our vitality and keeps us within alignment within our energetic field. But over time, that flow of energy may become low, stagnant, blocked, or even depleted for many different reasons. Whether that's the foods that we're eating, the toxins that we're ingesting from our environment, to even something much deeper, like living out of alignment with our truth or our purpose for too long. And before any session starts, I spend a few minutes just setting intentions with the client. And this just includes talking through any emotional, mental, or energetic areas that they'd like to focus on during that session. For this particular client, she mentioned wanting to release any fear, anxiety, and stress that have been held within her body because she has a big test coming up within the next weekend. So that became our main focus for the session, along with what I like to do for every session, working through the chakra system to see what's in alignment, what's out of alignment, and trying to balance everything again. And at this point, I'm also asking the client for permission. Although before sessions, we always sign a waiver or an acknowledgement of services, I still ask permission to perform Reiki using gentle touch and hovering of my hands over the client's body. And every session is built on mutual comfort and consent. So make sure you're asking your clients for consent before actually doing the work. Now, once the client is settled in on the table, pillows adjusted, blanket in place, and eye mask on, we begin. Now, before I start working with the energy system, I always take a moment to pause and call in for support. And maybe I have the client call in for support either out loud or within their mind as well. So I ask for the presence of the client's spirit team, whether that be their angels, their spirit guides, God, or the universe, to join us and facilitate the healing. As practitioners, it is so important to remember that we are not the ones doing the healing, but we are simply acting as a channel, the vessel through which this divine energy, this life force energy is moving through into the client's energetic field. Now, as the work begins, you'll see me circling around the client. I'm moving my hands inward and then outward. It's like I'm opening something up, and that's exactly what I'm doing. This is me intentionally opening up the client's auric field to access the energy within their body, within their energetic field. Now, this step helps the Reiki energy flow more freely, allowing deep cleansing, releasing, and restoration of anything that may have been stagnant, fragmented, or even open too much within their energy. And during sessions, I usually like to start from the feet up. So at the beginning, I start with grounding techniques. And this is where we anchor and ground the client's energy, so they're not feeling too floaty or anything of that sort. We want them to remain feeling balanced, centered, and grounded. Now, for this client specifically who was feeling anxious, I incorporated a grounding visualization. So this was imagining roots growing from her feet deep into the earth, connecting her back to stability and safety. Now, I am also a certified clinical hypnotherapist, so with the client's permission, sometimes I will incorporate some of those hypnotic suggestions and techniques, such as the visualization I did with this client, to assist with the healing work. But it is completely up to the client if they would prefer a silent session or if there can be some guided suggestions along the way. Now, I just want to note that there are so many ways to practice Reiki, but for me personally, it's all about channeling energy through my hands, and that's using gentle touch or hovering right above the body, and it's guided completely by my intuition and feeling out what's going on within the client's body and their energy. And you may see some other practitioners using tools that may be pendulums, tuning forks, or crystals. I often allow clients to bring their own crystals or tools, or they can choose from my collection as well. But for the most part, I'm using my hands as the main tool within sessions. But this just allows clients to be intentional about what energy they want to bring into their session, whether it's something they're calling in or something they're ready to release using these tools. And for this session in particular, she did bring some of her own crystals as well as using my own crystals. Now, as we're working through the chakras and the energy starts to flow, I like to move through the chakras and notice where I feel drawn or where the energy may feel different sensations, whether that's dense, heavy, or just even overly open, where it's pouring out too much energy, so it needs to be closed off just a bit so it's not draining the client. And during this session, a few areas that really stood out to me included the heart chakra. So I felt a tingling sensation and slight resistance while working in this area. And to me, this indicated a sort of blockage or a guardedness. So I spent a bit of extra time here, just allowing more of the Reiki energy to flow through and restore this area. Next, I want to talk about the solar plexus. Now, this area within the client felt sort of weak or drained, like it was dimmed. Now, oftentimes the solar plexus is linked to our confidence, our life force energy to expand throughout our whole body, our willpower and personal power. So I worked to restore and strengthen the energy there, to reconnect her back to her purpose, her life force energy, which may include her work, her confidence, her ability to do things on a daily basis with lots of motivation. Now, I noticed this at the beginning of session. I was feeling drawn towards her left side, whether that be her left hip or her kidney area. Energetically, the left side relates to our feminine and emotional energy. And while I am not a medical professional, so I do not diagnose, I simply share what I am sensing energetically within the client's body, but always with permission. So I'm not exactly sure what was going on that left side, but I kept being drawn towards it. And the throat chakra, this was one of the most significant things I noticed during this session. When I worked upwards, reaching the throat area, it felt constricted completely. And you may notice in the video as well, the way she's laying, her throat chakra is completely covered, like she's laying with her chin touching her chest. And I had to kind of ask her to move so we can work in that area. And this was just another confirmation, whether it was subconscious and unknowingly or consciously, that she was blocking the throat chakra. That was just confirmation that her throat chakra is blocked. She was protecting it. She was laying in a protective stance. So we did work a little extra in that area. And at the end of session, the client did confirm that she often struggles to express herself, to speak out and speak up within her truth, especially when it relates to work situations. And finally, as we were working our way up into the third eye and the crown chakras, now these upper chakras initially felt a bit cloudy, is like how I would describe it. Like there was just a fog or a dust that just needed to be brushed off. So we worked on that, clearing it away. It only took a minute or so. And after a few wafting motions, the energy opened up beautifully. And it was funny because the client later shared that as this was happening throughout the session, she kept seeing visions of a tree-like figure or face appearing gently within her mind's eye. And this figure, this face, did not speak to her, but it just offered a strong sense of calm or reassurance, just being there, making its presence known. So we both agreed and discussed and felt that this may have been one of her spirit guides, just making their presence known and reminding her that she's supported during this process. Now let's talk a little bit about the client's experience, what she shared at the end of session during discussion. So throughout the session, she reported feeling a pulling sensation, and this started deep within her stomach and that rising up all the way through her head, and a release that felt powerful, not painful. She described it like the energy moving and lifting away, which to me, I felt this aligned perfectly with the clearing and the restoration focus of the session. A lot of times during the first Reiki session, it involves a lot more clearing out of the energy, out of the body, anything that's been stuck for a while there. And then usually during the end of the session and even during the next session, whether that be a few days later, a few weeks later, it's more of a restoration process. You have to do that clearing first, making room for new energy. And to complete the session, I close the client's auric field, just as I opened it in the beginning. So this step feels like I'm tucking them in under an energetic blanket, sealing and protecting the work that we just completed. And then I call upon their spirit team once more, and maybe I tell the client to do the same. And this is offering our gratitude for their guidance, for their facilitation of today's healing and restoring, and asking for continued protection and integration after the session. So this is just a reminder that not all the work is completed during the session. You have to do some preparing before session, and of course there's the integration process after the session. And it may feel different for everybody depending on what's going on within their body and their energetic field. But I always like to dive a bit into this after sessions just to, I'd say, warn the client of maybe some things to expect, whether that's heightened emotions, like emotional purging, feeling drawn towards certain things or certain energies, and also moving away from certain things and certain energies. And same with the integration process. Every client experiences Reiki differently. Some may prefer silence during the entire process until afterwards, while others like a more guided experience, where we share impressions or intentions as they arise, where I may use my hypnotic guided suggestions during the process. But afterwards, I always give clients the space to share what they felt, maybe what they saw, or what they experienced physically, emotionally, energetically. Reiki is a very deep, personal experience and always meets you exactly where you are. It's not about fixing anything that's been broken, but it's about returning you back to your balance, to wholeness, to homeostasis and alignment within your true, authentic energy. Thank you. I'll see you all next time.